Hi everybody, my name is Alan. On behalf of the crew, I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Bridging Heaven and Earth. You know, I guess most of you have seen the show before, know we tape in California, in the United States of America. And this week, one of the local papers, there's a local paper for us in Santa Barbara, which is where we actually shoot the show. But there's a local paper, the Los Angeles Times. And, you know, while I was looking through the paper this week, I came across this picture. And when you see the picture, I guess at some point pretty soon it'll be on the camera, and you'll see that it's a picture that at this particular point took place in Israel. It's the inscription was Jewish settler Naomi Blumberg reads a prayer as his brother watches at their mother's funeral. Their mother was killed by Palestinian gunmen near the West Bank town of Kilkayim. Now, this happened to be a Jewish family. These faces were Jewish faces, but could they have been Palestinian faces? Could they have been Macedonian faces, faces in Chechnya? When are we gonna see enough of these faces going to funerals for people in the prime of their lives, blown to bits for some cause, for some reason, for some necessary action? You know, when I saw these faces, the boys and the father, it just seemed to me that it's time that no longer happened, that those pictures no longer were an everyday occurrence somewhere in the world. For some reason, for some holy war, for some fighting over a piece of land, for some fighting over some idea. That if people have watched the show before, they know that what Bridging Heaven and Earth is about is that experience of love, that experience of oneness, that is the connection between us all. That is the reality that we can know. And in that reality, these kind of things won't happen the way they happen now. So it just seems that we have to rededicate ourselves to once again trying to, in whatever way we know how, to reach into our lives, to reach into our knowing, and to come to that place where that connection, where that oneness is stronger than all the minute separations that really exist. And that is what, again, this show is about. That is what, again, the guests who come literally from all over the world to share with you and to share with me and to play and to share with the crew, come to share that message of love, of oneness, of how we are all connected, how that energy of love is what we're really made of. And to, in some way, resist more of those pictures, resist more of that sadness in another family, in another country, for some good reason. And it's just time. So we have with us tonight Michael Tamura. He's an extraordinary spiritual teacher. He's a healer. He's a clairvoyant. He's been instrumental in the spread of the psychic institutes all over the United States. He's transformed lives of thousands of individuals, male, female, young, old, in his over 25 years of spiritual teachings. His specialty is awakening the souls of future spiritual teachers. He's what is known as a healer's healer. He can see things that a lot of us can't. He can experience things that allow him to see who has that openness and who can come forth. And with certain methods and teachings that he has perfected through his teacher and teachings of, you know, where are the teachings from? They're all from all of us in a sense. That he brings that love and that openness and that joy of sharing that love and openness wherever he can. I mean, he's been staying at my house, and over the last 2 or 3 days, I mean, basically people are coming from far and wide for healings and leaving, in a sense, as different people. And I was fortunate enough to have an experience with Michael, and we'll talk somewhat about that on the show. And it's just, that's what he's here to do, and that's what we're here to share with him tonight. And we also have an old friend. The show was on a season or two ago. We were talking about actually how long ago it was she was on. That we got so many calls and so many people just loved the love in her voice. They just were touched by the experience of her caring, of her compassion. And she's going to sing 3 of her songs from her new CD, Over the Moon. And again, that's what Kate, in her way, with her music, with her words, all three songs were written by her, music and the lyrics. And each one is a cry for that love, a cry for that understanding. So again, over the next 57 or so minutes, it's an opportunity for us all to reach in to that love. It's there. It is what we are made of. There is nothing that is separate, that is stronger than that love. And once we experience it, everything changes in the way we live in this life. So, and we feel better. Feeling connected feels a lot better than feeling separate, feeling all the friction and all the hatred that causes us to have pictures like we showed on the opening. So as we normally do at this time, join me in a short meditation, and then Michael will be on and Kate will be on, and all of us have the opportunity to know love more, to really experience love more, to realize love more. So please join me, and then we'll have Michael and Kate. Hi. So we're going to begin tonight's show with Irene. It's really one of my favorite songs. I was telling that Kate's voice just fits this song so beautifully. And it was written and performed by Kate Bennett. And then Michael will be with us. Just settle in. Just let the love of Michael and Kate overtake whatever you're feeling that's not love. So, Kate?
Are you ready to go? May God speed and
That was fantastic, Kate. Thank you. So we're on the set with Michael. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
So for people who aren't as familiar with, some of the, well, I mean, who knows what people mean by different things. Mm-hmm. But when I introduce you, and I've seen it in your literature, what do you mean by being a clairvoyant?
Well, I'd say the best definition I've ever seen or heard is what Jesus said when he said, "Blessed are the pure of heart, for they shall see God." If you see God, God is everything, that's a pretty good clairvoyant. So I think we're all working toward that. And in order to do so, what does blessed are the pure of heart mean? It's being able to purify your heart of the divisions that you were talking about in the introduction, and to be able to find that oneness within yourself, to be able to dispense with all the judgments and the criticisms and blame that divide and corrupt one's soul and one's wholeness. And as you start to move that out of you, you start to choose not to have those anymore, or at least not to fall into them, then you start to see more.
And when you say see, why don't you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, for example, when you were introducing me earlier and you said, I see things that, some people don't, it's just a matter of awareness and attention and practice. It's like if you practice playing the piano a lot, then you're going to be quite a good piano player. If you practice looking inwardly, then you become a good clairvoyant. When I look at you, when I look at anybody I'm communicating with, I'm looking at who you are as a being, how that looks like to me. On the more physical levels, it looks like colors around your body. As people call that the aura. Around your head is real green right now.
And is it with envy?
No.
Okay.
It's like the growth.
Okay,
a lot of changes, a lot of growth. And also deeper in, when I look at you as a soul, you look like this bright light. You look like on a really dark night, when the stars are twinkling and it's kind of bluish around it, but white in the middle, that's kind of how you look like to me.
And everyone has a different external and internal.
Yes.
But you also, you did a reading for me, and you also have done reading for others that I've been peripheral to over the last few days. And you see other things. You see past lives, you see where injuries, and now, is that just an expansion?
Yeah, it's just another level to look at oneness. All things are one, is everything's energy. It's just different vibrations. So depending on where you look, what kind of interest you have, your awareness will touch upon that particular vibration. So if I'm interested in looking at more of the physical levels of your body and look at what conditions certain things are, that's where my awareness goes, and I'll see the vibrations there. If I'm more interested in where you are as a soul personality, that immortal part of you, then my awareness will go there and see.
And so you can look. Will you pick out different parts? Or when you see it, do you see it kind of all at once, and you can?
Yes.
And this is after 27 years or some odd of
practice.
And this is what you do, this is what your life is about,
day out,
more or less in that way.
Yeah. And I even do more of it when I go to sleep.
Right.
But some of it, on a very high level of spirit, I see it in geometry. Some people call it sacred geometry now. It's these geometrical formations that are alive. It's not like your textbook, boring geometry kind of a thing. It's a live thing. And when spirit creates, it geometricalizes everything. And that's why anything you see in nature, if you cut it open, you can see the geometry and the spirals and all of that. And when we create as beings, this geometry opens up like from little seeds, and it starts to come into your head and into certain parts of your brain and everything, and it gets translated into vibrations, at which point you can see it as colors. All the vibrations are different colors. So there's many ways to look at it. And then you were talking about past lives. We can look at that on many levels. Some of it is a person the soul brings it into this incarnation, things they're working on in their past lives. So just looking at them here and now, they carry these pictures, like a photo album you carry around of your kids and wife and things like that.
That is generally called karma? Is that what's called karma?
Karma is unfinished cycles of action. The minute we desire something and we start a cycle that is a creative cycle, we want something, and that want becomes a need for fulfillment. So everything we produce on our thought levels, on our actions, what we do, what we want, starts a cycle of action we call karma. Generally, people don't call it karma if you wanted something 10 minutes ago and it started a cycle now. They tend to refer to it from other lifetimes, but it's just the same, whether you wanted it 10 minutes ago and needs fulfillment, or you wanted it 3 lifetimes ago and you've been not getting that fulfillment.
Let me ask you, if you go back to like the first incarnation, how does somebody develop, like one person develop that they have bad karma or good? I mean, how does it go from like the get-go, from the split? Or why don't you describe it from that there's energy, that there's what people call God? Take us back to the beginning.
To the beginning. You don't ask any
No, I'm not screwing around.
Question.
It's funny, when I was thinking of doing, after we spent a few days together, there's a lot of information in this body. So it's like, how am I, I could ask you how you came to, blah, blah, blah. But I said, it just seemed to me, it's like, let's go. Let's go get it.
Okay.
So go get it.
The other end of the Big Bang, so to speak.
Right.
It's like we're so joyous in that oneness of existence before we split up into individual souls. It's like being so joyous. Have you ever had a time where you're laughing so hard you fall over on your face, and you lose your equilibrium and things? Well, if you could imagine, or like when we're children, we spin around, and pretty soon we get so dizzy the whole room is spinning instead of it's just inside of you. Well, it's like that in the beginning as a soul forms from that oneness of all things. The vibration becomes so fast, you spin kind of out of control. You spin away from it. And in that whole oneness in the beginning, there's no memory. There's no time. In spirit, there's no time, no space. It just is. And when you spin out from that, when you come to as an individual soul, you have no memory of having been part of the whole. It's right. Just because memory hasn't been invented yet, so to speak. So then we start from this very basic level of being...
It didn't have to be that way, but that was the way...
That's where some of us who spun out became an individual.
Right.
And then from that point, we start this journey. Even before incarnating into these physical bodies, we start a journey of exploration. And this is the beginning of what now we call ego, and ego has had a bad rap too, just like karma has, and it doesn't have to be. It's not a negative thing. Without it, we would never have our free will. Okay? We would just be part of the whole, and that is. Okay? But as we become this individual, we start to first develop as souls the ability to feel. It's like getting a touching impression on an energetic level before we have hands and everything. And that feeling gives us reality that there's something else out there than ourselves. And this is the point where we start to become self-conscious on a very minor level, and we start to recognize me versus you, or even before that, me versus all that out there. Then the next level we start to develop is that as we feel that reality of something separate from us, now we still haven't built that memory yet, so we don't know we're part of the whole. And as we start to feel more, we start to differentiate between attraction and repulsion and neither. So as we start to develop that, we start to be pulled toward what is positive and attractive to us without judgment, and then what is negative and repulsive, it's like putting the two ends of the magnet and it repulses each other. It's kind of like that on a spiritual level. And so we become more real and more separate, and we start to believe in our individuality. We're separate, and you're more separate, I'm more separate. And then as we develop further on a soul level and on this ego level of our existence, we start to have this energy distribution, a flow of energy, where we start to catalog what's attractive to us, what's
Why would something be
unattractive.
attractive to your piece of the infinite? As
It
opposed
depends
to
on
my
our
piece?
polarity. It depends on, at that point, it's like electrons and the protons and electrons, and they have different spin attractions.
So is it like which part of
Yeah, depending on how you spun off,
how you spun up,
You-
you come
you
off
start
with a
to have
different,
a-
like energetic.
exactly, signature, and different magnetic attractions to different particles, if you will. And so then, once it starts this cataloging, this is the very rudimentary part of what we might call the subconscious mind now. It's not a separate mind, it's just this area of consciousness starts to magnetize into a field, and it starts to work as an associative field. It associates, oh, this is attractive, this is repulsive, okay? And each time it creates like a file. And this is the beginnings of memory that we start to create. And then we start to put labels on it. We start to have a consciousness start to move into our intelligence level of consciousness, and we start to label, this is good, this is attractive, so it feels good, and I like it, I want to keep it, it's good. We start to make the labels and naming things and have concepts, and then it leads to judgment. Okay? This is bad, I don't want it. So again, it's still associating. And up to this point, it's kind of orderly. But from this place, what happens is it starts to get chaotic because we're cataloging. It's like now it would be if I had a great experience with fire. It warmed me up on a cold night. And so that's attractive and it's pleasant and it helped me survive. And so it's in the good category. But I burn myself next. Oh, that's not good. And so I go, okay, the consciousness goes, this is bad. So now you have the same thing, fire, and it's both good and it's bad. And so this ego developing consciousness becomes confused and it starts to panic. Well, which is it? And it can't, keep track of it. It goes on. And so you can imagine so many different things that are all conflicting inside of itself. And so it starts to panic and it starts to then create this level of it uses the creative and imagination aspects. It starts to go into that part of consciousness, and it starts to project these illusions or create. It's like covering up your old walls with new wallpaper makes it look better, but you never took the old stuff out.
So it gets layers of layers onto that.
Yes, all the good stuff. I want my life to be better, and more nicer and all that kind of stuff. And you just add more and more and more until you start to develop this whole personality based on that. That's not the essential part of one's being, but that's what we create around ourselves to protect ourselves from all this threatening stuff. And later on, when a soul starts to incarnate into these physical bodies, a lot of times, some of the old interpretations in religious circles, both in the East and the West, starts to deny the body and make the body sinful and bad. But without this physical human body, we can't reach our divinity.
We won't experience it.
We won't experience the whole spectrum
of it.
Yeah, because those souls that upon incarnating a few times in the body and they don't fully learn to create, in a sense, all of our incarnations are where we incarnate into a body of karma. It's made out of our unfulfilled desires and needs. And then part of our purpose to fulfill in life is to transmute this body of karma into a body of wisdom. And
that's what your schools that are setting up are to peel the onion and to get us back to the root.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great description, is to peel the onion. That's the first stage. That's working on those associations. Once we're incarnated into bodies and we have this associative mind that we push down to make it kind of subconscious and forget about it because that's where all the pain is. And so the first level is to peel those filters and protections against those pains. It's just like the oyster secretes that nacre around the grit and makes a beautiful pearl. We prize the pearl, just like we in humanity, in society, we tend to prize our personalities. Oh, he's got a great personality, you know, that kind of level. That's the pearl. But underneath that pearl, if you start peeling that onion, underneath you'll come to the pain, which is the grit. Okay? It's hurting us, so we protect it by putting a coating, smooth coating, so we don't have to feel the grit of the pain.
But we also don't feel
the real joy.
The root of it.
Yeah. And so when the chaos and the panic in the ego gets so horrendous, we just, there's nowhere to turn to. And this is really the process we experience when we go face physical death. Okay? Or we face the physical death of a loved one, or someone we love dies, we die with them. Okay? And this is we go through a death every single time we go through spiritual change, because we're peeling this. And when we start to peel this, first, you know, we kind of deny it. We're either in shock, or we just don't want to face this horrendous pain. And then we start to get really angry, and we start having a tantrum. Is it possible
after that momentum changes, and after a while it's more that the wind is at your sails, and it doesn't take as much
to go
friction to go to the next level, because you're scaring everybody. You're starting to scare me. It's like, holy Christ, I can imagine everybody else. Holy shit.
Yeah, well, that's
it's just changing the momentum of it, because the momentum before was...
We start with a lot of resistance.
Right.
But once we start to get the hang of this dying thing, and we have a whole lifetime to practice.
Right. Okay? And what's dying is just hurting us anyhow.
Exactly.
So after a while, it's like another one, thank God.
Yeah, dying is essentially being able to detach yourself, stop putting more energy into the covering, and let go of the covering. And
the covering is what all the separation is.
Exactly.
And the essence, we're all one.
It's all one. And until we start to reverse this process, we don't get to that awareness, because in the beginning, we don't have the memory of having been part of the one.
So we have to go from having them coming off the oneness to the way I use is the experiment of being separate, feeling separate, although you're not, and that's the illusion of it.
Exactly.
And then making the circle back to the one.
Yes.
And that's basically the spiritual path.
And that's all your life experience.
And if it takes one lifetime, which it generally doesn't, or it can take as long as it takes. Because there's no time and space in the fulfillment of that infinite.
Exactly. And the amazing thing is another way you can appreciate this is as a soul develops, when a soul first starts in incarnations, not at the original split, but incarnation, if you look at them out of the body, there's an energy mass. It's like an amorphous mass of energy, life force, that is given to them to develop, that starts around the heart area, okay, in the body. And over the course of incarnation, it's the soul's job to shape this, almost like Michelangelo, you know, making that beautiful sculpture out of marble. It's our job to shape this into this body. So,
in other words, to have the light fill the whole form of it.
The form.
And then it's going to overflow out. And then people are going to say, boy, that person's very loving.
Yes.
And they're vibrating it, and the manifestation will either be understood or not understood.
Yeah, and each part of the form has meaning. So your legs are different from, just like the cells differentiate into, you know, leg cells and arm cells, and it has different purpose. When you build this, it's from your life experience and the wisdom that you distill from each of your life experiences that starts to form this immortal body that you as a soul can have infinitely for eternity. Eternal life, it's called.
Wow. So I guess that means that Kate should sing again. So yeah, we'll have Kate's second set. We'll come back with Michael, and we'll try to explore maybe one or two of the other great issues of our time. So the second set is Home and Boy Blue, both written and performed by Kate. So Kate.
separate way. Every night I lie awake. Boy blue. Built the castle, now the bridge. Every stone I built it with. Made a magic moonlight wishes for you. Soul to soul, I know no words to speak. You bring to light the deepest part in me. Boy blue. See the road, I see the bend. Time slips away and then turns and brings you back again. Boy blue. Boy blue.
Hi, well, thank you, Kate. That was fantastic. So we're back on the set with Michael. So, Michael, the second question. Actually, in the break, I was saying to Michael, I'll bet you after that first section, people's eyes were spinning. I mean, it's just, there's so much to like being a human being. I mean, in a way, it's simple. In a way, it's unbelievable.
Yes.
It's a miracle. It's
Absolutely.
unbelievable. So, how do we come back? How do we go home again, like Kate was saying? How do we recognize that connection, to be in a seemingly separate human body and experience the oneness, the love that we really are, the God, as people would say about it?
Well, you know the saying, a lot of people say, oh, don't expect that out of me, I'm just human, right? And humanness actually gets a lot of bad rap too. Another thing that gets a bad rap. And actually, we are not going to fully reach our divinity if not through our humanity. And as you were talking at the very beginning of the show with the picture and when is this going to end, this is part of what we're here for, is to experience the depth of our emotions, whether from the high peaks to the low, levels, and to be able to experience that this is all part of the same thing. When we could have on one side the good and on the other side the bad, we can allow ourselves to have both. This is called forgiveness. To be able to give to ourselves, to give to one another, regardless of which side it is. It's within us. The thing we were talking about right at the beginning when you asked about the clairvoyance of being pure of heart, which is the peeling of onion, getting the judgments. One of the first steps to healing ourselves so that we can experience the oneness within ourselves is it's not out there. And in order to reach that inner level, we have to start to relinquish judgments we have that we like to project on other people. The blame, criticism, those things, they come first. And then you start to turn more inward to validate spirit, that you are. All healing, as far as I'm concerned, really the simplest definition of healing and the instruction for healing is very, very simple. It's every time you validate spirit, you return to that oneness within, and you become more whole, and the conditions of your existence, whether it's physical or emotional or mental or whatever, starts to improve.
There'll be less dis-ease.
Exactly. And each time you invalidate or neglect, you don't have to overtly be hostile or antagonistic, but just invalidation also includes neglect of spirit. then
And how does one neglect spirit?
unconsciousness, just not paying attention. So validating spirit, on the other hand, is paying attention, saying hello. You know, when we see somebody on the street we recognize, we wave and say, hello there, you know, how are you doing? Nice to see you. But how many people actually do that with their inner being every day? You know?
So you're suggesting that there are tools, like throughout history there's been like meditation, there's been holy company. So in your techniques, I mean, are those part of it?
Yes, and there's, I have a big toolkit.
Oh boy.
A lot of tools.
Because there are a lot of people out there.
Exactly.
A lot of people. One
some like
person's
power
floor
tools, and
right,
some like to feel
hand,
the
right.
hand tools and everything. Different uses, you know, different situations require different tools. Sometimes tools are tools. It's never meant to be senior to you. It's meant for you to use them. A lot of times in meditation,
and
people,
teachers are also meant to be used.
absolutely, teachers are great tools.
Right, but sometimes, we talked about this a little yesterday, they become the end in itself.
Exactly, and
that is not the end in
no,
itself.
that would be just like, you know, giving up your seniority to a hammer. You know, hammer's going to do it for you, and
yeah, that would be probably a very
yeah, ouch.
Or expecting a hammer to do what a watch can do.
Exactly.
Making
yeah.
everything.
And you know, at what point do you say this person's a teacher, but that person isn't? Some out of the mouth of babes, you know that expression. Just outside this room before the show and everything, this beautiful girl came and sat up on my lap, and I learned a lot from her just in a few seconds. Very tremendous.
Yeah,
being.
she's amazing.
Yeah. And she didn't have to say anything other than her name. So we learn from our plants and flowers, we learn from our pets, we learn from one another.
Well, we have the potential for that, but most people, let's say, don't. Now, what prevents the openness to learn from things
Fear.
around it? And how do we overcome that? How do we get it? How do we overcome it?
Yeah, fear isn't to be overcome. You know, a lot of times people think that courage is being fearless, and those are two different things. We all have fear, because fear is a message that says you just spaced out. You, the being, left the body. You, the spiritual being, left the body. The driver is out of the car is going down the hill. Yeah, exactly. So fear.
The reins are not being.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So the fear is just a simple message. It comes out in many different ways, different situations. But each time there's fear, all it means is you've spaced out, you've gotten out of the body, and you need to come back and take care of your space. You need to take care of the body. You need to take care of your relationship with whatever's going on, and you'll find the minute you as a being comes back into the body, the fear leaves. And so a lot of times,
fear is what fills the gap if you're not there.
Yeah, fear is the gap.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's fear is just feeling the gap, the missing. Gee, no one's home.
Right.
Lights are on, no one's home.
Right.
And so, so if you try to overcome fear, you're fighting the messenger. You're killing the messenger,
right,
so to speak. And you don't want to kill the messenger. It's got a very important message. And so you have to learn to hear what the message is. And the body communicates with feeling and emotions, not intellectually. So you have to, it's very similar to communicating with animals. They communicate with feelings, and if you don't get it and you want to have an intellectual discussion with them, it's not going to work.
Right, you're asking them to do something they're not
they
capable
can't do
of.
it. Yeah,
Right.
and the body emotes its needs and everything to the spirit. And so, you know, when you sometimes think that you're angry at the person, you know, who just hit you or whatever, or they're just standing in front of you, it's really a misinterpretation. The being isn't listening to what's going on with the body. The body's saying, hey, where'd you go? I'm standing in front of this person and he's doing these things and I'm helpless. I need you to come back and take care of me, and I need some instruction here. that's all the body's saying, and the body's really angry at you, the being, not the person who just did something or you're standing in front of.
Well, the first time is his mistake. All the rest are yours, right? I mean, so when does consciousness grow in a person so they wouldn't be standing there the second time and the third time?
The being has to choose to come back. You see,
and when the being's there, consciousness is there.
Because in spirit, out of the body, there is no such thing as darkness. When I close my eyes, there is no darkness. But most people, when they close their eyes, it goes dark because they're tuned into this light out here. But when you start to realize out of the body, there's no darkness, there's no pain. Pain is a strictly physical incarnational problem or experience. So once there's, and I'm talking about physical pain, trauma, once there's that physical trauma, pain, the being goes, I'm out of here. It's natural reaction of a spirit. I don't have to be in this pain. But if the being leaves the body, the pain stays in the body and becomes a memory, an unconscious memory, and only it's unconscious because you're not there. You're the consciousness as a being.
And when you come back, you're saying it's still there.
It's still there. And then if it gets re-stimulated, this is why when you're sometimes you haven't been hit, you didn't cut yourself, there's no physical damage, no physical trauma, but you're in pain. Nobody can tell you you're not. You feel it, it's there, and it's just as real as if you physically got hurt.
Then.
Yeah, and all that is memory. It just gets re-stimulated, it comes up. And in a sense, it's a part of the healing where you get to become aware of it. If you didn't feel it, if it didn't come up, you would probably ignored it some more. But there comes a time where you can't ignore it. It comes up, and you, the being, has to make a decision. Okay, I can't just run from this. I'm going to learn how to de-energize this. I'm going to take the power out of this past experience and give it back to my own being. And
that's what all the tools will help do.
Yeah, yeah. And whatever tools, yeah.
Right. And you would say that, I mean, if I asked you a question of, you know, are there 3 or 4 tools that you would say? Number 1,
yeah, the basic tools. The basic tools I teach at every seminar and everything. The first one of my favorites and one of the most important is grounding. A lot of times, you know, spirituality and spiritual discipline and training got into a lot of let's reach nirvana, reach enlightenment up there somewhere. God is up there and the light is up there. Of course, if you get out of your body, whether through near-death experience or, you know, you bonk your head or you meditate enough and you get out of the body, you're going to be in the light. There is nothing else out there. Okay? But the real enlightenment, the real fulfillment of purpose is to bring that light back into here. That's why I love your title of the show is Bridging Heaven and Earth. And our job as human beings are not only to bridge that gap, but to be the bridge. Okay, so we're one and the same. And
there's no heaven and there's no earth. I mean, that's
in spirit, it's all the same, so to speak. It's all one. But in the body, there is a difference. And so the fullness, the totality of divinity can't be expressed and experienced other than being a human being, a full human being. You have heaven and earth, both. Okay? Whereas out there, out of the body, you just have heaven. Okay? You don't have the body end of God. So in the beginning of this total oneness, when you're starting, it's like being a baby. You don't know any better. That's why you're one. Okay? But once you grow up and you go through all that separation and everything, and then you come back, and then
you're conscious of the process.
Exactly. You have both the innocence of a baby as well as the wisdom of an adult.
That's the difference, in a way, between being childlike and childish.
Exactly. Yeah. And also this bringing this into the body, the grounding. I was starting to talk about the grounding as a tool, is a connection. It's a very simple one. Even children, or especially children, learn it fast. Is just imagining that right from the base of your tailbone area, where the first chakra, the root chakra is, that's the center of self-preservation or survival. And all self-preservation means is the nature to preserve oneself.
Right, to not have the physical body
Exactly.
injured or decomposed.
Well, it's not just the physical body, that's one part of oneself, but self, garbage in, garbage out like a computer. If in that energy center and in those memory banks in there, if you slip in, or other people, your caretakers, teachers, doctors, parents, friends, as you're growing up, and they give you their version, their beliefs in picture form of what it's going to take you to survive. Well, what's going to take you to survive and preserve yourself as who you are is going to be quite different than what I need. But if I give you my pictures of this is what you're going to have to do to survive, you'll be eating with chopsticks.
Right. So a true teacher would almost give different guidance at every breath, every moment, to every person would be different.
Yes, and so grounding from that first chakra, that root chakra, to the center of the earth, just imagining like a tree trunk or a post, energy post, and you just relax and decide you're going to be here. And as you relax and let everything go and let it fall down that grounding, it works very similar to the grounding on a gas
electrical cord.
Electrical cord, gas truck, where the lightning hits and it goes down that chain and stuff, supposedly.
Right.
But it will work.
Hope so.
Yeah.
Right.
So then the more grounded you become, not only will it help you, the being, stay in your body, and even if it gets too much energy and you want to leave, you'll be able to, it's a commitment to be here. And it also discharges all that surplus and excess energy we pick up psychically from other people. Everyone's psychic. And whether they like it or not, whether they know it or not. And so there's so much energy going around. Probably one of the early beginning levels of starting to turn inward, back to your question of how do you get more in to find that oneness, it's too crowded. We're full of it. We're full of everybody else's energy.
People have said that a lot about this show.
We're full of other people's energies. Some of it's we can call it positive, some of it's negative, but it's still not what we generate. Exactly. It's not our own being.
It's not welling up from within us.
Exactly. Right. It was something. Energy is energy. It's all one. But everyone has the consciousness to impose their free will, so to speak, on that energy, and we can take a piece of that energy and make it ours. We put our signature, and if I make it mine by creating a picture or an impression or a concept judgment with this piece of energy and give it to you, you can't use it. It's got the wrong codes on it, so to speak. It's like putting a Macintosh computer program into an IBM. It may be a perfectly good program for the Macintosh, but it won't work on the IBM. And so we do this to each other all the time. We just slather each other with our different creations, thinking it's great or whatever.
It worked for us, it felt right for us.
Exactly. Then, if you can imagine how many times a day somebody tries to tell you to do it their way and make you do things their way, that's kind of the physical outward level. But if that happens on a physical level, you better believe it's happening on a psychic level way before somebody ever tells you anything.
Right.
And so we're being bombarded by other people's expectations and judgments, and the more sensitive a person is, they pick it up, and until they are aware, because they're feeling it in their body and they're thinking it in their head, they think it's their own thoughts and their own feelings, and it's not. It's what controls people in life. And the
worst part is it prevents them from knowing the essence.
And
their essence.
Exactly. And
that's what the problem with it is.
Most of the times, most people are furiously trying to solve everybody else's problems just because it's in their body. And when they learn to discharge that energy, to release it and abandon it, just go, hey, this is not my problem. I don't feel this way, but that's what I'm feeling. There's a huge difference between what one soul in a body is feeling inside of themselves versus what they're feeling on the outside. So if I tune my radar to someone, and we do this a million times a day, we worry about our kids, we worry about our partners, we worry about our family, we worry about people and go, gee, I wonder how she's feeling. The minute you ask that in your head, you might think it's just a nothing question, but Awareness responds to you instantly for everything you want. So on a real passing level, you go, I wonder how she feels. You're plugged right into her energy on a feeling level, but because you're afraid, you're worried, you're going to tune into the negative aspects of her feeling, not the positive.
It's hard to be neutral. You know, it's what I'm telling you what the problem is that the show's over. An hour goes really fast when there's just so much to talk about. So if you want information about Michael, if you want information about Kate, 805-687-2053. Good night. God bless you. We'll try to have Michael and Kate back for more time. Good night.